Today we're driving the 2022 Toyota Corolla Cross. This is another crossover from Toyota that slots in just below the Toyota RAV4 and just above the CHR. It's basically a lifted Corolla with a little bit more space. It has all-wheel drive. It's powered by the 2-liter inline 4-cylinder. It makes 169 horsepower and is rated for about 30 miles to the gallon combined in all-wheel drive form. We have a continuously variable transmission. It starts around $23,000 for the front-wheel drive base model, and this is spec'd up to about $32,000 with a few options. I'll include those in the description. Base price on the XLE, which is the top trim, is about $28,000. So let's walk you around this new Corolla Cross, show you what it looks like inside and out. We'll take it for a drive, test the JBL sound system at the end of the video, and hopefully give you guys a pretty good idea of what this Corolla Cross is like. So first things first, the interior even looks very similar to the Toyota Corolla. We have very similar controls and buttons and ergonomics. Nice contrast seats. On the outside, we have a little bit more of a rugged plastic cladding crossover look. We have 8 inches of ground clearance and a decent all-wheel drive system. A little bit of a different front grille design from what we've seen in a lot of Toyotas. Most of it is pretty much all blocked off except for this bottom section down here and just in front of the radiator. Pretty large, massive daytime running lights from these headlamps. We have 18-inch wheels, still have a decent amount of sidewall on them. Good amount of back seat space. Decent amount of legroom back here. Cup holders in the doors. Very standard Toyota stuff here. Not a whole lot that's different from a lot of the other models. The infotainment, the climate control buttons, the steering wheel buttons, all pretty much a carryover from everything else that we're seeing in Toyota's lineup these days. We get an armrest with a few more cup holders here. Easy access for the child latches. These backrests do not adjust, but they do fold down. Pretty easy to get in and out of the back seats. Lots of headroom. Little Corolla Cross logo right here. Yeah, it just looks like a slightly smaller, more rounded Toyota RAV4. This XLE has a power lift gate. We get a spare tire in the back, which is great. Nice to see spare tires in modern cars. A little bit of storage space on both sides here, which is nice to kind of secure some items. You get this cargo cover in the back. 2 buttons here to lock and close the rear lift gate. Here's what the engine looks like. A little bit loud on the road once you get it revved up with the CVT, but should be a pretty efficient and reliable engine. It is a Toyota after all. We have Toyota Safety Sense 2.0, lane tracing assist, adaptive cruise control. It all works really well in this Corolla Cross. More on that when we take it on the road. Overall, I think this is a pretty decent looking crossover. It has a nice amount of ground clearance. 8 inches is kind of a sweet spot. Combines good fuel economy with all-wheel drive, Toyota reliability. This is nothing really unexpected from this Corolla Cross. We'll probably see a hybrid variant in the near future. Let's hop inside. We'll show you around this interior and then we'll take it for a drive. So we have this pretty standard center digital display from Toyota here. We can see a bunch of different menu options like tire pressure, all-wheel drive distribution, fuel economy, an eco indicator, and go through and change all of our settings pretty easily. This infotainment is compatible with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. You plug it in right there with a USB Type A port. Next to that, you've got your heated seat controls, decent looking reverse camera, a couple different reverse camera views, super wide and super distorted, and not so wide and not so distorted. You can turn your lines on and off and change them around like that. They will rotate as you turn the steering wheel. Got your parking brake and auto hold button. The parking brake will automatically come on every time you put the car in park, and when you put it in drive, it'll automatically turn off, which is nice. You don't have to undo it. Traction control and auto stop start buttons are down here, along with wireless charging. A couple more cup holders, a little bit of a space here to put some stuff with a fabric lining on the bottom. Little cigarette lighter plug outlet. Here's your glove box. I mean, it's a Corolla crossover. Little sun blocker right there in the visor. I have nice visibility, except for out of the rear window, but the Corolla doesn't have the best visibility out of the rear either. At least the headrests don't quite block as much in this Corolla Cross as they do in the standard Corolla. This is definitely a more spacious and probably more attractive vehicle to most buyers in the US over the Toyota Corolla, which is a fantastic car. All right, let's take this thing on the road and see what it's like behind the wheel. Before we get started with today's drive, I would like to thank our sponsor for this video, Phantom Wallet. This is my daily wallet. It's a well-engineered product that I really have enjoyed using the last year or so. This is the Phantom R. It's their higher-end model. You can bolt on a number of different attachments to the back. This is the key holder attachment, and I really like this because it kind of combines everything that I need out of my wallet. I can hold my keys, I can have a money clip on the other side that I bolt on, hold some cash, and I can fan out all my cards like this. There are a number of different finishes, color choices, card capacities, pretty much customizable to anything that you need. Check them out at phantomwallet.com and use the code TOPHER for 10% off your order. Steering is very light. Controls in this feel pretty similar to a lot of other Toyota vehicles. The engine will sit at around 3,000 RPM with light acceleration with the CVT. Handling is pretty good with this crossover too. It's still pretty lightweight, around 3,200 pounds, maybe a little bit more in this all-wheel drive form. And at full throttle, 169 horsepower actually goes a pretty long way. This maybe isn't as athletic or quick feeling as the standard Toyota Corolla, but it's not bad. We don't have any drive modes. Pretty much just get in and go. That's okay with me. Brake pedal feels nice and positive, nice and firm. We have a pretty good turning radius here too. Let's see how it handles a 0 to 60 acceleration. Oh, there's stop start for you. Couple simulated shifts there from the CVT. Power is adequate. No real complaints there. I do like the steering in this Corolla Cross. It has a little bit more feel than some other crossovers in this class. You definitely feel like you're driving a lighter weight vehicle, which is nice. Like this thing doesn't weigh 3,600 pounds. And when you're just driving around normally, the CVT, this 2-liter engine, is just fine. It's going to be relatively efficient. It's pretty quiet. It gets a little bit loud when you get into the power, when you're making a pass, or maybe merging onto the highway, but for the most part, it pretty much blends into the background of the wind and road noise with this Corolla Cross. We have a pretty nice ride handling balance. No paddle shifters behind the wheel. You do get a manual mode. where it'll give you simulated shifts for an 8-speed transmission. Nice if you want a little bit more of a sporty driving experience, or if you're just flying down a mountain and you want some engine braking. You can hear once we get going, there's a little bit of wind noise. I do like the way this handles. It's pretty neutral. It definitely feels a little bit more willing to go around a corner than the Toyota RAV4, for example. Overall, this is a pretty easy car to drive. Nice to live with. No major surprises here with the driving dynamics. Pretty standard stuff from Toyota. I've enjoyed driving this week. It's been a nice daily driver. You can just hop in it, get in, go. No drama, no fussing around with silly controls. All the ergonomics are very user-friendly. We have auto climate control, eco button for that too, heated seats. It would be nice to get a heated steering wheel in this top trim XLE, but I'm sure that's something they'll probably add in the future, along with a hybrid powertrain. Don't really have many complaints about this Corolla Cross. It's not the most inspiring vehicle to drive, but it drives well enough. It's comfortable. There's a really nice ride handling balance here with the suspension tuning. It feels lightweight, it feels nimble. It's not as spacious or large as the RAV4, and it kind of feels that, but the back seat might be a little bit tight to fit a rear-facing child seat, but for the most part, it's a little bit more spacious than, let's say, the Mazda CX-30, for example. Another 0 to 60. See how it takes this entrance ramp corner. I am a big fan of this Toyota Safety Sense 2.0 system. The adaptive cruise works really well. Does not skip 5-mile-an-hour increments, but if you hold the button, it'll raise the speed pretty well. You can adjust your following distance very quickly with this button right here, and you can enable lane tracing assist right there. All very nice ergonomics on the steering wheel. It maintains a pretty nice following distance, even at the closest setting. As soon as you put your turn signal on, it'll also start to accelerate, and it'll accelerate pretty quickly around slower vehicles. You don't feel like I'm holding up traffic in this Corolla Cross using these Toyota Safety Sense systems. The lane tracing also seems to work quite well. It finds the lanes pretty quickly, and it lasts maybe about 10-15 seconds until it prompts you to put your hands on the wheel. It seems to stay pretty well centered on the highway too, which is great. Watch it negotiate this corner right here. A nice system to take some fatigue out of the drive, and it's easy to enable and disable if you don't want it in whatever situation. You hit some traffic and you want to be able to kind of maneuver on your own. It's easy to turn off as well. Alright guys, well that's going to wrap up our thoughts on the 2022 Toyota Corolla Cross. Kind of surprised that Toyota didn't offer this with a hybrid powertrain exclusively or even just right off the bat, but I'm sure it won't be long until we see that. As it stands though, this is a pretty nice offering from Toyota. I think it's a good alternative to the Corolla if you want a crossover, something a little bit bigger, and if you're not ready to swing for something as large as a RAV4, this is a great option and a much better driving vehicle than the Toyota CHR, which is getting a little bit dated at this point. So, top marks for the Corolla Cross. Excited to see what Toyota does with this vehicle in the future. Thanks for watching, guys. That's going to be it for this one. I think let's do a sound system test after we walk around the car real quick, and that'll be the end of the video. We'll just wrap up with that. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you later. JBL sound system is decent. Honestly, the sound quality is just average. There's nothing too exceptional about this. Definitely not as nice as the Bose systems from Mazda, for example.